All right. I'm gonna go over just my updates that I've done to my Weakauras and some of my macros, and I'm gonna talk about Flask Set and gearing this phase. That's kind of restrictive for Fear Warriors. We don't really have a lot of stuff to change or to gain from the raid, and we're forced into using certain items, which is kind of yikes. So first off, I'm just gonna go over my Weakauras. I've changed a lot actually. I've added a lot more damage multiplier um, trackers, and I've changed the position of them too. So now they're being tracked from they're being tracked underneath here, and I've taken out consume by rage. I put consume by rage on the other side of the bar. So if you just look here really quick. So I have consume by rage tracking here, and I also have in rage, which is the talent from being crit, also being tracked as well, and they don't overlap each other. It will be like one or the other, and it will always prioritize in rage over consume by rage. I have a Flask Set equipped warning, which is another warrior in my guild created this. Crying Orc, he made this to make sure that you're not engaging the boss with your plus healing Flask Set on. I'll go over the Flask Set in more detail later on, but I've added Recklessness to here. I've changed the Rage Pod. I've also changed Sapper, and I've just reorganized this a little better. And yeah, I've changed some damage ones as well. I've changed Heroic Strike threshold for just popping, just locking in Heroic Strike once you hit 80 rage. You get so much rage in the raid now, you can pretty much just hold down Heroic Strike throughout the entire fight. It's kind of, there's rare occasions where you don't. And that's just because of either being, like, getting multiple dodges or whatever. I've also changed the Wind Fury threshold, or sorry, the hamstring threshold for Wind Fury. Change that to 95. As you should be hitting hamstring basically as soon as you get consumed by rage up. You should be just like spamming it. I've also added in a whirlwind tracker for or a tell for the arms rotation. It just when it pops up, that's the ideal time to use whirlwind on single target. Obviously, in a cleave scenario, you would want to use it on cooldown and with combination with cleave and sweeping strikes. But that's pretty much all I've changed in here. The warrior or the war buttons haven't really changed that much, but the damage multi has changed a lot. And I've also been working on the boss timers. Now, this is what took so long. I basically had to go in. I couldn't really make this until there was enough raid data in Warcraft logs for me to figure out like the average boss kill times. Now there is a boss kill time Weakaura that shows like a number on your screen, and all it does is it takes the overall raid damage and then calculates the amount of time to like the damage it takes to the boss's health, and it figures out a time. Now the only problem with doing that is that in Sunken Temple, a lot of the bosses have multiple bosses. So, like for instance, Jamal has himself and like Ogrim, and you switch between them. So their like health tables change constantly. Again, with the for like Kakar, it's the exact same thing. You fight 4 ads, and you fight his little like shade, and then you fight the actual like avatar himself. So there's constant the targeting health tables are always changing. Now, if you build Weakauras for tracking the bosses, you can actually build them so that you facilitate the trigger from the actual boss itself. So you can do encounter ID, and then you can do the targeting ID itself as well through you can give it a specific name. So like this will never make a mistake. And that's why I want to do it this way instead of getting a Weakaura just for overall kill times. This will be more precise. And on top of that, you can also change the percent health values for each cooldown. So you can figure out what your raid is achieving instead of just having a overall every single time you go into raid. It's different, and it's very inaccurate with all the like health tables changing. This still has issues because of a few fights. So Jamal will change who you're targeting, and same with the council. The council will always change as well. The defenders, they will always change every single week, which is kind of annoying. But apart from that, this is an accurate way of doing the boss kill times, because you'll be using your cooldowns for your raids output instead of just whatever. But yeah, I had to like wait until we did it a few times, or until we had a clean raid, in order to figure out what we can achieve, and that's going to change week to week too. Like once near the end of the phase, is everyone's going to be potentially BIS at the end. Your raid DPS won't really vary that much, apart from people dying in raid. So yeah, I'm gonna put this in the description. I'll put everything in the description like I've always been doing. If you want to use these Weakauras, you can. I would suggest changing these health thresholds to what your raid is achieving in for overall DPS, because the damage, like the kill times in this raid, have drastically changed since 2 weeks ago, when it was like pre nerfed, and it's changed since last week too. Like the bosses are getting shorter and shorter. Like the first boss is down below 30 seconds now. People like the warriors are doing like plus 3k DPS. The second boss was like a minute. Now it's down to like 30 seconds. It's getting even shorter, right? And this is going to get shorter and shorter too. So that's why I've been waiting to kind of like make a video talking about my like Weakaura update, because I wanted to have this Weakaura like figured out before posting a video on it. So yeah, that's basically all I've changed. I got boss debuffs tracking for the raid as well, and that's basically it for Weakauras. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the Flask set and how to like utilize it in raid. So in order to use the Flask set, there's a really good macro that Trying Orc, the warrior my guild, made. It basically, oh yeah, this requires item rack, the add-on. This macro requires you to have item rack installed. So the way this works is it changes, it equips your Flask set, which is a plus healing set that you would build inside of item rack. It switches all of your items to your plus healing items. It uses Diamond Flask, and then it waits 0.5 seconds and then re-equips your DPS set that you've built. This is really handy for bosses like Festering Rot Slime, where there is massive AoE damage happening to the raid, and this would alleviate a lot of healing to warriors that use this, and your healers will now be able to heal the ferals and the rogues and the melee hunters, and it will just keep you alive. Like you just get more healing. So even if your healers are healing you, just like overall raid healing you, you have your own self tick also happening. So I'm just going to explain how it. I'm just going to demonstrate how it works. So say this is like Festering Rot Slime. You would pop it 2 seconds before, and it would put all of your plus healing on, and now your flask is taking for whatever your plus healing is. So my set's not really that complete yet, but I'm taking for 215. You also have to remember too, I actually made this mistake in my raid. You don't want to switch your helmet or your belt in the Flask set, because if you do and you want to use these items in that fight that you do use your Flask set, you won't be able to, because when you switch these items, they go on a 30-second cooldown when you re-equip them. So I made that mistake on the first boss in our raid. So just remember that. And that's basically how Flask Set works. You just need item rack. You just get this macro. You just plug it in. Whatever you name your sets, make sure they're in these brackets, and that's it. It's just a one click. You don't spam it. Just one click. It puts it on. It uses the Flask Set. Takes it off and puts on your DPS gear. Super, super handy. I'm just gonna go over in this video warrior gearing, because warrior gearing this phase is it's kind of cringe. We're kind of forced to using certain items, and we don't really get very many items from raid. Apart from our set, we're only changing our neck, our back, and weapons. That's about it. Everything else, oh, I guess our gloves too. Everything else is from just open world and instances and quests. So like Diamond Flask is going to be your best in slot for the rest of this phase. Could even potentially be best in slot next phase. You're forced using a hit trinket because you have to have 6%. And regardless of your weapon skill, if you have plus weapon skill as a human or orc, it doesn't matter. Plus 5 weapon skill only gives 0.5 hit chance. So you need to have 6% regardless of weapon skill. Meaning you like have to get it from your 3 set, your engineering belt, your double rings, and your trinket. Now the only exception is there's an axe, Tooth of Aranicus, which has +1 hit. Now, if you do get this axe, this isn't better than running the dire nail. But if you don't have dire nail and you get this axe, then you would run this axe, and it opens up a slot to drop either your ring for Legionnaires, which I think is the best swap. Again, too, if you have Flurry Axe, if you have Flurry Axe is better than the Tooth of Aranicus. So you would still have to run double double hit ring in order to get 6 hit. But if you don't have Flurry Axe, you don't have Dire Nail, you would run, and you do get your hands on Tooth of Aranicus from the raid, then you would drop one of your hit rings for Legionnaire's Band. And the only other exception for Trinket, if you don't want to farm out your wild offerings, then you could run Rune of the Guard Captain. But I think the crit is just so much better than 20 attack power. So, kind of sucks. Warriors are forced to using the engineering helmet. This is not going to be, there's no other helmet that's going to beat this helmet, just because 20% attack speed for 10 seconds with the boss kill times being most of them under 1:30. This thing is just amazing for execute phase. It's amazing for popping recklessness. It's crazy. Your neck, it's only a 2 attack power upgrade, barely noticeable in damage, which is super sad. The crafted shoulders are super easy to get. The panther fur is really good from the first boss, but you could get basically the same cape from Blackrock Depths. It's only like 1 agility. Yeah, it's 1 agility. Like, it's not even noticeably different. Again, the bracers, the forest stalkers are going to be your best, just because agility is so heavily weighted for Fury, because Fury is just about getting deep wounds. But if you don't have the rep, it's only 1 agility better for the engineering bracers. For gloves, it's the 1 crit from Templar, or from the Sunken Temple. But there are quest gloves that are almost as good that you can get. You're forced into using this belt, sadly, because we have no other options for hit. You have to have this engineering belt. If you're planning on DPSing as Fury with this phase, you have to have engineering, just because there's no other way to get hit. And then your 3 set, again, we're forced to use it because the extra attack is amazing. I'm not sure why it says 5%. Pretty sure it's 3%. Huh, weird. Yes, 3% in game is 5% on 60 upgrades. Kind of weird. Okay, but yeah, so like you were forced using the set just because it gives a hit, and that extra attack is like not replaceable. That's basically it. Yeah, and then for like for range, it's just all world drops. We only have access to the bow from the raid. And that's basically warrior gear in this phase. It's kind of cringe. We don't have a lot of options. There's not really a lot of changes that are like happening. The only change really that we get to like fool around with is basically our offhand. because Thrash Blade main hand, Trash Blade, Thrash Blade main hand is the second best main hand for Fury, apart from the Claw. And then the Dire Nail is our best in slot offhand. And that would force you, again, I'm just going to reiterate it, you have to run the double hit ring in order to get your 6%. So yeah, weapon skill doesn't matter, doesn't do anything apart from giving you glancing blow reduction, and it barely gives you any. And that's basically where you're getting this phase. Because I think in my last video talking about BIS and like pre-BIS, I didn't really like talk in too depth about every piece of gear. And in this video, I want to make sure that I talk about it. I think I just went over the like how to set up this, and I think I made a mistake on weapon skill. Weapon skill was completely useless. So that's it. That's all. Hope this video helps out anyone. Hopefully my macros, this Flask macro, like helps out switching your Flask set on and off. It's amazing. I didn't use this in Classic WoW, and I wish I did, because this is crazy how good this is. Like how fast it works. It is crazy, dude. It is wicked. Hats off to Crying Wolf for like figuring that one out. I'm going to leave all my Weakauras, macros, and everything in Pastebin and in the description. And you can copy and paste them into your Weakaura and add-ons if you want. So that's it. That's all. Bye-bye. I'll see you in my next raid.